Um, as you can tell on the screen, there's a very close but not the same name as mine. So I'm jumping in for my colleague Daniela, who unfortunately tested positive for COVID this morning. So thank you very much for being here. My name is Daniela. I'm leading Plug and Play in Switzerland, and I'm again jumping in for my colleague Daniel, who is the Ventures Director and the MIA IC member, so the investment member of Plug and Play. Let's go back one. I'd like to quickly talk through what Plug and Play does, why we think sustainability is so important, and why we say that we catalyze sustainability by bringing the brightest minds together. And then I'd like to jump into one of our success stories, especially combining different players in the mobility and in the sustainability branch in order to create a more efficient and more sustainable product at the end. So Plug and Play started in the 1990s. I'm sure you recognize that. There were 3 kids in our building. Turned out to be one of the biggest unicorns worldwide, followed by PayPal, also quite the successful startup, I'd say. And we are trying to replicate that. So what do we bring as one of the most active investors worldwide? What do we bring to the table that makes those startups so successful? In the meantime, we have over 30 unicorns under our belt. We're very proud of that. And we're able to hold them, and we're able to attract even more of those startups over and over again. So it's not just the last 10 years, it's also the last 2-3 years. The way that we do it is we bring innovation to anyone and everywhere. We are really believing that there is not a one-way street. Just because you have money going into a startup doesn't mean that that startup is going to be successful. We're trying to build an entire ecosystem with over 60,000 players worldwide. The way that we create it is in 3 pillars. 1, we have an accelerator program. Obviously, those startups need support as much as they can, and we bring that in. The other one is the corporate innovation. The corporate innovation means we help the biggest corporates worldwide, and we will delve into that later on. The biggest corporates worldwide in their entire innovation journey. What can we solve with startups? When should we solve it with startups? How do I find the right startups? How do I work with the startups? We all know the difference between a corporation, the way that they work, and the startups, the way that they think. Oh, that's much better. I can actually hear myself. And then last but not least, we invest ourselves in very young startups, pre-seed and seed. We started in Silicon Valley, so where everything starts. And in 2016, it was the first time that we jumped out of the Silicon Valley. Together with Mercedes, we started our first mobility platform in Stuttgart. And now we are over 52 locations worldwide, one of them being also Switzerland, of course. As I said, we're working with 600 of the biggest corporates worldwide. Both the biggest and also the smallest. We work with Energie Steiermark, which isn't necessarily a Fortune 500, but still sees the value in working together with startups. Because we work with so many different corporations, so many different startups worldwide, we split that up into different verticals. We have 20 different verticals that we work with together, and now we're getting to it. Mobility and sustainability will be the 2 ones that we're looking into. What we do. One of the most important things is we don't just connect. We measure our value and we measure what we bring to those startups, to the corporations, by creating a pilot project, by accelerating the time of that pilot project. So it's not 6 months or a year, we're cutting it down to 2-3 months in order to really see if there is a value fast as possible. We have 8 locations worldwide that are looking into sustainability and mobility. We also have 8 locations. They're not the same. They're in different locations worldwide. We have over 100 partners, corporate partners, that are working in the mobility platform with us. I've accelerated 750 startups worldwide, so I'm relatively proud of that. Now, Startup Autobahn is the platform that we looked at in the beginning. Startup Autobahn is the biggest and the most successful open innovation platform there is worldwide. We have 36 partners there. we've created 465 pilots. That means 35% of those are built into one of those cars or one of the car parts that of those partners that we're working with, so Porsche, Mercedes, all of that is in those cars now. Or in Bosch kind of motorizations or Motherson bumpers. These are the success stories, and Daniel chose them because it shows very clearly that you can't really create a sustainable product by just tapping into one step of that product. You need to look into the entire value chain. How can we create a value chain between all the players that are affected by it or are affecting that product and really making this more efficient? Not only the process, not only the change between them, but the entire parts of them. And how can we measure that? So this is the example. And unfortunately, I wasn't on that project, so I'm going to try and communicate as much as I know about that project. BASF creates the grounds for Motherson to create the bumper that then goes into a Porsche car. Now, BASF can track the greenhouse emissions that they create, and Motherson tracks their own emissions, and then Porsche has no idea of all the thousands and thousands of parts that go into the car, their entire amount of carbon emission and greenhouse emissions that come from one single car. How can they do that? That's where we brought in Circular Tree. Circular Tree is the project lead, and they have a solution, a SaaS software solution, which is called the Carbon Block. All of the emission information coming from BASF, but also coming from Motherson, up until to the input into the car, into the Porsche, is being put on a blockchain so that we can have this incredible amount of data that is coming out of every step in a very efficient and centralized and clear way. Because there is too much data, right? Sometimes we just know stuff about things that don't really matter. How can we streamline them so that in the end, Porsche can say, my car or the car that you bought has this and this effect during the production. We've rolled that out, and it's not just between those 4 partners now. It's now being rolled out into lots of different parts of the entire Porsche car. On YouTube, there's a 10-minute video that will explain that entire project much more in detail than I can right now. So please have a look at it. And if you have any more questions, Daniel is more than happy to answer them at any point in time. This is not the only project, of course, that we're doing. I said before, we're doing 460 pilots. There's several different other ones that we saw when we bring together not just one partner, but we create that ecosystem of innovation where we bring together several players. This is the results that we're able to get. The entire thing is called Startup Autobahn. Feel free to look into it. They're incredible what they're doing. That's me. I'm leading the entire thing in Switzerland, and in Switzerland, obviously, sustainability is also a huge thing. Uptown Basel is a massive compound that is not only looking into Industry 4.0, but also looking into what can we do with quantum computing. So everything that we're looking at, all the calculations that we have right now, how can we take that to the next step? And you will hear a lot about it in the next coming days. These are all of our Swiss partners. And if you have more questions about plug and play in Switzerland, feel free to reach out to me. It's relatively simple. It's either daniel@pnptc.com or daniela@pnptc.com.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Very good.